Are you ready to be great? Stop letting self-doubt, insecurity, and fear prevent you from building your business. This morning, wake up to success. Here's John Preston.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on Wake Up to Success. This morning, we're going to continue our discussion on deep work, that state of focus that we want to try to get into on a daily basis that allows us to shut out the rest of the world and focus on the things we need to do to be successful. It's the difference between running a business and having a lot of busyness. We all do things throughout the day which eat up our time and create a lot of busy work. And we often do them over and over again, like checking our emails or answering texts the moment they come in or checking social media. And they feel like things we're doing that are moving us forward, but often they're creating a lot of busyness. So one of the things that we need to look at is, how do you get into this deep state of work? Now, I equate it to being in college and basically having a deadline due, a term paper due, tomorrow, that you put off for several months. And now you're able to basically shut all other worldly things out of the way and focus on doing that paper. It's that deep state of concentration and focus. Now, one of the things you need to do is figure out what your strategy for this deep work is. Now, deep work comes from a book by Cal Newport where he outlines it. And there's also some elements of it in a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And basically, it all centers on the fact that we're not capable of multitasking because we end up dividing our attention too thin and simply not getting anything done. So when you talk about working deeply, the first thing to do is figure out how to do it. Now, there's several approaches. One is to basically shut yourself off. Just cut all communications down, bury yourself in a room, go to the mountains or go somewhere and just focus all your attention on accomplishing a task or accomplishing something that's very important to your business. Now, that's not realistic for a lot of us. What is more realistic and more common is setting aside blocks of time during our day, that during that time, we are not going to allow ourselves to be distracted. We're going to focus on a single task and get it done. When you start to do that and you develop the skill set for doing that, then suddenly you will see major things being accomplished in your growth of your business, your sales efforts, or whatever it is you're trying to achieve, taking you closer to your dreams. Now, another thing you have to do in order to make this happen is you have to embrace boredom. I see this all the time with people. We have so much going in our lives, so many information streams that are constantly coming at us from all different directions, that we do not handle boredom well. We simply don't. And one of the raw truths about this world is, if you want to be successful, if you want to achieve your dreams, there are boring parts of doing that. I mean, let's think of an NBA player that has achieved the epitome of the basketball world, making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars playing a sport. It seems exciting during the games. I mean, they can really get into the games. But can you imagine shooting 600 free throws at a single time just to get better at shooting free throws? How boring would that be? But they embrace it. That is what separates the great from the ones who want to be great. That ability to embrace the boredom. No one likes to be bored. We would prefer that our mind be filled with excitement at all times. But that's not real when it comes to achieving high levels of success. So you have to learn to embrace the boredom so that then you can shut out your distractions and move into this state of deep work that allows you to accomplish great things. Now, how do you cut out the distractions? The first thing you do is you got to make sure you're putting yourself in a position to not be tempted. We have a very finite amount of willpower every day. As we try to hold to our guns, as we try to resist temptations, it eats away at our willpower. And as we get more fatigued and more tired as the day goes on, it gets harder and harder to do that. So the best way to avoid temptations is to not put them in front of you in the first place. One of the greatest quotes I've ever heard on this point is, I don't even have any idea who said it, but that temptation often walks through doors intentionally left open. And how many of the temptations that we have through the course of our days that prevent us from accomplishing the things we want to accomplish occur because we've left open the door for that temptation? And what do I mean by that? We may have that app for Facebook on our phone, so that when we go to answer our phone, we look down and see the app. That is a door left open for us to be tempted. And those kind of things surround us. Now, in the next episode, I'm going to take a deeper look in how you can train yourself to avoid these temptations and these distractions and make it easier for you to enter into this deep phase of work that'll allow you to focus on the things that are really important for you to achieve the success you want.